Before we cross into the unknown, leave a hello in the comments. Even the smallest signal can ripple across galaxies, guiding fellow wanderers to this tale. Let me know you're out there. A voice among the stars, listening with me beyond the veil. Engines roared across the void as the flagship Intrepid tore through the silent corridors of space. Admiral Kale's eyes never left the holomap, where alien fleets had gathered near the Citadel station. Reports came in. Emissaries were dead, betrayed by their own paranoia, leaving the alien council in chaos. Kale gritted his teeth. Humanity had been underestimated for too long. The betrayal of trust, a silent murder of diplomacy, ignited something in him, a fury that would not be contained. The Citadel hummed with alien arrogance, their leaders cloaked in ceremonial armor, debating humanity's irrelevance. Suddenly, sensors screamed warnings. Hundreds of human vessels appeared, surrounding the station like a predator closing in on prey. Kyle's voice boomed over the comms, calm yet deadly. You have two choices. Submit to humanity, or your civilizations end tonight. Silence fell. Fear flickered across alien visages as they realized their miscalculation. Humanity was no longer the weak race they had mocked. The alien council scrambled fighters, but their formations faltered under the human fleet's precision. Admiral Kale observed, fingers brushing the control panels. They believe we are still weak, he muttered, voice cold. He relayed coordinates to the human squadrons, every move calculated, every strike synchronized. A single misstep could mean annihilation, but humanity's resolve was ironclad. Behind him, crew members adjusted shields and weapon systems, the tension in the bridge nearly tangible. In the council chamber, alien leaders argued in panic. We underestimated them, hissed a senator. Kale's voice cut through their comms, unwavering. Your fleets orbit in disgrace. Every second you resist accelerates your extinction. Across the station, power cores hummed, shields flickering under the threat of coordinated strikes. The aliens had planned for diplomacy, not war. Their eyes widened as human vessels formed tactical grids, engines glowing, weapons primed. Humanity's patience had ended, and the ultimatum was no bluff. As human bombers launched from the Intrepid, slicing through the alien perimeter. Kale's fingers danced over the console, tracking every movement. His mind was a chessboard of war, predicting alien desperation. Target their relay nodes first, he commanded. Explosions rippled through alien communications, sparking chaos in their ranks. Crewmen exchanged grim nods. Each strike was surgical, methodical, leaving nothing to chance. Humanity was not just fighting, it was orchestrating annihilation with terrifying efficiency. Alien council members bellowed in panic, attempting to coordinate a counterattack, but their strategies collided, fractured by fear. Kale's voice rang through the void, steady and resolute. You gambled on our weakness. You lost. The station's shields flickered as human fleets advanced. Alien eyes darted across sensor panels, seeking a weakness. Any opening. None existed. Kale watched, unwavering, as the final stage of his plan unfolded. A demonstration of power that would either force submission or erase the council. Humanity would decide the outcome, and they chose dominance. The first wave of alien defenses shattered. Kale's gaze swept across the battlefield, calm amidst chaos. Human drones swarmed alien destroyers, disabling engines and cutting comm links. On board the Intrepid, the bridge was tense, every officer aware of the stakes. Prepare boarding protocols, Kale ordered. His mind raced with anticipation. Not fear, not doubt, only the thrill of justice delivered. Humanity's presence was a declaration. The galaxy would no longer overlook them. Alien leaders convened in the remnants of the council hall, trembling. We are defeated, but they cannot hold, whispered one. Kale's voice filled their comm channels, cold and undeniable. Hold or flee. Submission or extinction. History will remember your choice. Panic turned to despair as human Marines teleported aboard key sectors, their movements precise, lethal. Alien tech flickered under human interference, their arrogance dissolving into raw survival instinct. Humanity's arrival was no accident. It was a reckoning, and the galaxy would witness its fury. Kale's fleet tightened its orbit around Citadel Station. Alien resistance splintered under the relentless assault. They thought they could negotiate with fear, Kale murmured, eyes cold. They were wrong. Human lasers cut through the station's hull, forcing critical systems offline. Crewmen worked in tandem with AI strategists, each strike precise, each decision calculated. The aliens' hubris had met the patience of a species that refused to be ignored. Inside the council chamber, alien leaders stared at collapsing holomaps, at fleets crumbling under human precision. Kale's ultimatum echoed in their ears: submit or face destruction. Some wept, others froze in disbelief. Humanity's resolve was absolute, their fleet an unstoppable force. The station shuddered under coordinated strikes, the aliens realizing that this was no threat. It was destiny enforced. Kale watched, expression unreadable as the galaxy's balance began to shift, one unwavering fleet at a time. Human stealth fighters slipped past the shattered outer defenses. Kale's eyes scanned the tactical displays, every alien ship accounted for, every weak point exploited. "Initiate EMP pulses," he ordered, fingers brushing the controls. A wave of electromagnetic interference cascaded across the Citadel's systems, freezing shields and weapon turrets. Crew members exchanged glances. This was surgical, merciless precision. Humanity had arrived not to negotiate, but to command. Inside the council hall, alien leaders clawed at flickering consoles. Panic turned to anger, but their fury was impotent. Kale's voice boomed across the comms. "This is your final warning. Compliance spares your people. Defiance ends them." Some aliens whispered to surrender, others debated escape. Sensors picked up movement in the station's core corridors. Kale's eyes narrowed. Aliens were desperate to salvage control. Humanity's fleet wasn't just outside. It was everywhere, and nowhere could hide from the inevitable. Kale's boarding vessels pierced the station's hull, magnetic clamps locking onto alien metal. Marines prepared, weapons humming with plasma energy. "Remember," Kale reminded his team, "this is a statement, not revenge. Precision saves lives. Brutality kills arrogance." The corridors were dark, illuminated by the glow of tactical lights. Alien defenders scrambled, uncoordinated, their panic magnified by disrupted communications. Humanity's reputation for order and discipline contrasted sharply with the chaos surrounding them. Alien leaders convened in a reinforced chamber, desperate to issue orders that could no longer reach their fleets. Kale's voice resonated through hacked channels. "We offer life. Refusal ensures extinction." Outside, automated drones disabled the last remaining turrets. The council's faces reflected disbelief and fear. Kale felt a strange satisfaction. This was more than victory. It was a warning to the galaxy. Underestimate humanity at your peril. The station, once a symbol of alien power, now trembled before human resolve. Kale's fleet encircled the station like a predator tightening its grip. Alien escape pods launched in desperation, but automated interceptors cut off every vector. On board the Intrepid, Kale monitored heat signatures and energy surges. "We allow no mistakes," he said, eyes fixed on the holomap. Human precision was ruthless yet calculated. Every strike intended to minimize civilian casualties, maximize alien compliance. The silence of space amplified the tension, every explosion echoing like a drumbeat of inevitability. Within the Citadel, alien leaders huddled, debating surrender. Fear etched every face. Kale's ultimatum played repeatedly in their minds: comply or vanish. Sensors detected movement near the station's command core, a last desperate attempt at resistance. Kale smiled faintly. "Let them try," he muttered. The humans weren't merely attacking, they were orchestrating a demonstration of power, a reminder that the galaxy had underestimated them for centuries. Alien arrogance had a price, and it was now overdue. Kale's strike teams breached the core sector. Plasma blades and EMP rifles lit the dark corridors, cutting down isolated alien squads with precise efficiency. "Move fast, move clean," Kale instructed. The Council's desperation radiated through hacked channels, their orders disjointed and ignored. Outside, the human fleet maintained perfect formation, shielding the boarding parties and striking rogue ships. Every movement, every decision, underscored humanity's discipline and resolve. Alien leaders convened in a trembling circle, realizing their defenses were futile. Kale's voice boomed through the station's speakers. "Submit, now, or witness the extinction of your species." Some cowered, others plotted futile resistance. Alarms blared, corridors trembled, and the reality of annihilation pressed upon them. Humanity's presence was absolute, their will undeniable. Fear clashed with pride in the council chamber, and Kale watched, unwavering, as the galaxy's balance teetered on a knife edge of destiny. The final wave of human drones disabled the station's core defense systems. Kale's eyes scanned the holomap. All alien vessels immobilized, their energy grids failing. He adjusted shields, prepped transport gates, and gave the final order: board the command center, and this decisively. Marines advanced through corridors lined with sparks and smoke. Alien soldiers either surrendered or fled, disoriented and demoralized. Humanity's precision had transformed fear into order, chaos into control. Inside the council chamber, alien leaders finally faced Kale's emissary, a squad of Marines with weapons trained and unyielding. Kale's voice filled the room. "The galaxy underestimated humanity. Today, you have a choice: submit to our leadership or be erased." Silence fell. Some wept, others turned pale. Humanity's presence was no bluff. It was a reckoning. As the station shuddered under human dominance, Kale realized the future of the galaxy had shifted irrevocably. Submission was inevitable, and fear had become their only companion. Kale's boarding team secured the command hub. Alien council members trembled beneath the glare of human Marines. "Stay calm, stay precise," Kale instructed, surveying the chaos. Holographic maps flickered as human tech integrated with the station's systems, exposing hidden armories and control nodes. The aliens' arrogance had left vulnerabilities Kale now exploited with surgical precision. Humanity's presence was everywhere at once, a web of inevitability that no resistance could escape. The Council's eldest member whispered, "They cannot. This cannot be." Kyle's voice cut through, unwavering. "History does not forgive underestimation. Submit, and your people live. Resist, and you vanish." Outside, human ships maintained orbital dominance, their weapons locked on critical points. Panic rippled through alien forces, now aware that every strategy had been anticipated. Humanity's advance was unstoppable, their patience ending centuries of ridicule. In this moment, the balance of power in the galaxy shifted decisively. Kale authorized the deployment of tactical drones throughout the station. Alien soldiers scrambled, trying to regroup, but communications were fractured and sensors hacked. Kale watched in cold satisfaction as human forces disabled turrets, opened corridors, and systematically stripped the station of its defenses. The atmosphere was tense, every hum of machinery underscoring the inevitability of victory. Humanity was no longer an underdog. It was the reckoning. Inside the council hall, leaders debated surrender with trembling voices. Kale's ultimatum resonated in their ears: submit, or face extinction. One brave counselor attempted negotiation, proposing vague promises of cooperation. Kale's reply was merciless. Your assurances are meaningless. Only compliance secures survival. Outside, alien fighters, cut off from command, drifted aimlessly in space. Humanity's discipline contrasted sharply with alien chaos, turning fear into a weapon as powerful as any plasma cannon. Kale's Marines pushed deeper, securing the final sections of the Citadel station. Alien resistance crumbled under precise strikes and coordinated human tactics. Every corridor cleared, every command node captured, brought humanity closer to total control. This is not just victory. It's a lesson, Kyle murmured, scanning holomaps for remaining threats. The station itself seemed to shudder, recognizing the change in authority. Alien leaders huddled in a corner of the council chamber, shadows of their former pride. Kale's voice filled the room, steady and commanding. You gambled on our weakness. You lost. Submit now, or you and your fleets cease to exist. Some nodded reluctantly, understanding their doom. Others clutched weapons in futile defiance. Humanity's advance was absolute. The station, once a symbol of alien dominance, was now a testament to human resolve and technological ingenuity. As orbital cannons powered down, their energy grids were hijacked by human systems. Kale observed the alien fleets immobilized, engines failing, weapons offline. We give them the choice once, he said. The human fleet maintained formation, shields glowing, a visual demonstration of disciplined power. Kale's patience reflected centuries of planning. Their timing perfect, their threat undeniable. Inside the council chamber, alien leaders faced the inevitability of submission. Kale's words echoed, "This is your only path to survival." Desperation warred with pride. Some resisted internally, others surrendered silently. The station shuddered as human systems took full control, lights shifting from red to calm blue. Humanity's arrival was a signal across the galaxy. The underestimated would no longer be ignored. Fear had replaced arrogance, and compliance became the only rational choice. Kale's boarding team secured the council's chambers. Alien weapons were disarmed, escape routes sealed, and communications routed through human systems. No violence unless necessary, Kale instructed. Every movement was precise, deliberate, reinforcing the power of discipline over panic. Humanity's dominance was established not merely by firepower, but by strategy, precision, and unwavering resolve. The Council's final members bowed their heads, trembling under the Admiral's gaze. Kale's voice, calm yet commanding, filled the chamber. Your empires will continue only under human guidance. Defiance ends tonight. Silence hung heavy as the aliens realized the futility of resistance. Humanity's fleet remained vigilant outside, a constant reminder that the galaxy had shifted. The balance of power was no longer uncertain. It rested firmly in the hands of those who had long been underestimated. Human transports ferried supplies and reinforcements into the Citadel's hangars. Marines swept through corridors securing sectors without resistance. Admiral Kyle stood at the command dais, watching as alien prisoners were disarmed and escorted away. Order is not given. It is enforced, he murmured. The station that once embodied alien unity now displayed banners of humanity's fleet. A silent declaration spread across the galaxy. Earth had returned, and it had come to rule. In the council chamber, alien leaders sat in silence, stripped of arrogance. Kale addressed them with measured calm. You remain, not because of strength, but because humanity wills it. You will govern under our oversight. A ripple of unease swept through the chamber. Kyle did not seek annihilation, but submission. The lesson was clear. Resistance would never again be tolerated. Humanity had transformed from the forgotten into the inevitable. Citadel Station came fully under human control. Systems once loyal to alien command now obeyed human protocols. Their networks merged with Earth's fleet AI. Kyle watched as reports streamed in. Stabilized sectors, captured vessels, and civilians spared. Humanity had not come for slaughter, but for order. Yet behind every victory lay unease. The galaxy's silence felt unnatural, as if greater powers were watching from beyond. Kale convened with his senior officers. "This victory is not the end," he said, eyes narrowing. "It is the beginning." The officers exchanged glances, aware of the weight of his words. Alien whispers spoke of ancient armadas hidden beyond dark sectors. Some leaders trembled not only from humanity's rise but from secrets they had guarded for centuries. Kyle felt it too. This was only the first move in a larger game. Captured alien fleets were escorted into controlled orbits. Human engineers dissected their technology, searching for hidden traps and secrets. Kale stood in the operations center, studying the alien power cores. Their designs were advanced, yet flawed, inefficient compared to human ingenuity. "Arrogance breeds complacency," he muttered. Humanity had surpassed them, not in sheer numbers but in adaptability. But beneath the citadel, Kale discovered encrypted data caches locked deep within alien archives. His officers decoded fragments, references to a power greater than any council, a force erased from records. Kale frowned. They feared something more than us, he realized. The council's panic, their arrogance, it was all a mask to hide an ancient terror. Humanity had forced submission, but now faced the possibility of awakening a far darker enemy. As fleets realigned, preparing for humanity's next orders, Kale addressed the subdued council. "Your compliance ensures stability, but your silence hides secrets. Speak." The alien leaders shifted nervously. One finally confessed, "There are fleets, older than empires, waiting beyond the void." Kyle's jaw tightened. Humanity had won the battle, but the war ahead threatened to dwarf even this victory. Kale leaned closer to the counselors, his voice edged with steel. "You will tell us everything. Humanity does not fear shadows." Yet, inside, he felt a rare flicker of unease. If the aliens, arrogant as they were, had lived in terror of this hidden enemy, what awaited beyond the stars? Humanity's triumph was real, but its future was no longer simple. The galaxy had secrets, and now they were humanity's burden. The human fleet tightened its hold on the citadel. Alien banners were lowered, replaced with Earth's insignia. Yet in the command chamber, tension lingered. Kyle confronted the alien elders. "We are not here for conquest alone. We are here for the truth. What do you fear?" Silence followed, broken only by the hum of the station's core. Finally, an elder whispered, "They erased your people once. They may return to finish the task." Kale's breath caught. The implication was staggering. Humanity's erasure from history was not the Council's doing, but something greater, something ancient. His ultimatum had secured submission, but at a cost. Now humanity was exposed. The fleet outside gleamed with dominance, but Kale knew this victory was only the opening act. Humanity had demanded submission from the galaxy. Yet in the darkness beyond, another power might be waiting to demand the same of them. Reconnaissance ships launched into uncharted sectors beyond Citadel space. Admiral Kale studied encrypted maps recovered from the alien archives, routes marked with warnings, whole star systems redacted. They erased history to protect themselves, he muttered. His officers glanced nervously. The silence of those void sectors felt unnatural, almost hostile. Humanity had forced submission, but now it sought answers hidden for millennia. Alien counselors resisted disclosure, but interrogation under human authority broke their silence. They spoke of the architects, a race older than empires, vanishing into myth, yet never truly gone. They erased humanity once. whispered a trembling elder. Kale's jaw tightened. If true, the victory at Citadel Station was only the beginning. The galaxy feared these architects, but Kale felt something different. Defiance. Humanity had risen from erasure once. They would not fall again. Stealth probes vanished into the black void. Their feeds streamed back fractured images, ruined stations, shattered fleets, and symbols etched into debris. Alien, yet strangely familiar. Kale frowned, recognizing patterns from Earth's oldest myths. This was not a coincidence, he whispered. Humanity's history had been intertwined with something greater, something deliberately hidden. The bridge fell silent as each fragment revealed a truth too vast to ignore. Within the Citadel's archives, Kale's AI decrypted deeper files. Records showed entire civilizations exterminated with precision, their names erased. Humanity was not the first target. Fear echoed in the voices of captured leaders. They had survived by submission, by silence. Kale leaned forward, steel in his voice. We do not submit. We endure. His officers met his gaze, understanding the truth. The architects were real, and humanity's defiance had already drawn their attention. Kale's fleet expanded patrols, wary of unseen enemies. Reports trickled in, ghost signals, phantom ships vanishing before scans could lock. Kale paced the bridge, his instincts on edge. They're watching us, he murmured. Every hum of the consoles felt heavier, every shadow on the holomap a potential threat. The counselors whispered of ancient hunters, always unseen until it was too late. A distress call cut through the void. One of the probes had been destroyed without warning. The wreckage floated silently, melted as if by impossible energy. Kyle clenched his fists. This is no myth, he said coldly. His officers looked uneasy, but Kyle's resolve hardened. Humanity had faced betrayal, erasure, extinction, and yet they returned. Whatever these architects were, Kale knew one thing. Humanity would not be hunted again. Kale convened his officers in the Citadel's war chamber. Holograms displayed the galaxy, vast sectors marked with silence and fear. We cannot wait, Kale declared. If the architects exist, they already know we're here. Plans unfolded. Reconnaissance networks, deep patrols, alliances forged from submission. Humanity had forced the galaxy to bend, but now needed it unified against a greater threat. The alien council hesitated, voices trembling. You don't understand, one pleaded. Resistance invites annihilation. Kale's reply was sharp, resolute. So does silence. Humanity will not hide. His words rang through the chamber, stirring even his officers with conviction. Humanity's rise had not been for dominion alone. It was survival, vengeance, destiny. The architects had erased them once. This time, humanity would write the ending. The fleet began its first coordinated sweep into forbidden sectors. Kale stood on the bridge, watching the black expanse beyond the stars. Every sensor ping, every flicker of interference raised tension. Humanity was advancing where no one dared, carrying both defiance and dread. We seek truth, Kale murmured, and truth will find us. In the Citadel's archives, Kale's AI revealed the final fragment, an ancient warning etched into alien code. When humanity rises again, the architects will awaken. The bridge fell silent. Kale's eyes hardened, resolve burning like fire. The war was inevitable. The ultimatum at Citadel Station had changed the galaxy, but it had also sounded a signal. The architects knew humanity had returned, and they were coming. Kale's reconnaissance fleet entered a forbidden system, its star dim and scarred. Ruined stations drifted in silence, their surfaces scorched by weapons beyond comprehension. Kale studied the wreckage, unease gripping the bridge. This wasn't war, he muttered. This was erasure. The ships moved cautiously, scanners piercing the dark. No signals, no survivors, just the quiet aftermath of something absolute. Then, a flicker. Sensors picked up a phantom signature, massive, shifting, then gone. Officers froze, exchanging nervous glances. Kale leaned forward, voice steady despite the tension. "Mark the coordinates. They're watching." The silence of space pressed down, heavier than any battle. Humanity had seen death before, but this was different. It was a warning, written across the bones of a forgotten empire. Probes advanced deeper into the system. Data streamed back, distorted readings, impossible energy fluctuations, weapons that defied known science. Kale stood silent, studying the patterns. "This is technology far older than theirs," he said, gesturing toward the alien counselors. Fear washed over their faces. They had seen such readings before. "You've encountered them," Kyle pressed. None denied it. Suddenly, the probes went dark. No explosion, no wreckage, just silence. Kale gripped the console, his voice sharp. "They erased our eyes before we even saw them." Officers shifted uneasily. Humanity's technology, refined and disciplined, had been humbled instantly. Kyle felt a chill crawl up his spine. The architects were real, and they were not hiding anymore. Kale's fleet tightened formation, shields raised, weapons primed. A ripple spread across the void. Space itself seemed to bend. Then, from nothing, a shape emerged. It was vast, geometric, unlike any vessel Kale had ever seen. Its hull shimmered with alien patterns that seemed alive, rewriting themselves. The bridge fell silent, breathless. Humanity's enemy had finally revealed itself. The ship did not fire. Instead, a pulse rippled outward, striking human sensors and disabling them instantly. Screens went dark, alarms blared. "It's not attacking," Kyle muttered. "It's measuring us." Fear crept through the crew, but Kale stood firm. He opened comms, voice unyielding. "Humanity has returned. We will not bow again." The architects did not answer. They simply lingered, vast and unknowable like gods studying insects. Kale's fleet attempted maneuvers, but the alien vessel shifted with them, anticipating every move. "It's predicting us," an officer whispered. Weapons locked, but firing sequences scrambled, jammed by invisible interference. Kale clenched his jaw. "They're inside our systems." Humanity's strength, its adaptability, was being tested against something that seemed omniscient. Kale gave a single command. "Shut down the AI cores. Run everything manually." The bridge buzzed with urgency as officers rewired controls, stripping their fleet of automation. Slowly, human ships regained function, weapons humming back online. The alien vessel pulsed again, scanning, observing. Kyle smiled grimly. "You don't understand us. We improvise." Humanity had shown its first act of defiance, small but undeniable. Kale's fleet faced the silent colossus. Every eye was fixed on the shimmering patterns of its hull, as if the ship itself were alive. Alien counselors whispered in terror. This was the predator they had feared for centuries. Kale felt the weight of history pressing down. Humanity had returned from erasure once, and now it stood face to face with the hand that had erased it. The architect vessel pulsed one final time, then vanished into the void, leaving silence in its wake. Kyle exhaled slowly, his resolve unbroken. "They wanted us to know they're watching," he said. The fleet stood ready, scarred but unyielding. Humanity had glimpsed its true enemy, not arrogant empires but ancient architects of extinction. Kale's eyes hardened. "Then let them watch. We'll be ready." Kale's fleet regrouped near a barren moon, systems rebooting after the architect encounter. Officers moved with urgency, patching hulls, recalibrating weapons. "They stripped us bare without firing a shot," one muttered. Kale silenced the room with a glance. "Then we learn. They are not invincible. Nothing is." His voice steadied the crew, but beneath his calm lay fire. Humanity had been measured, but it would answer in kind. Alien counselors begged Kale to retreat, insisting survival lay in submission. Kale's response was cold steel. Submission already erased us once. We will not repeat history. He ordered deep scans of every fragment, every ripple left behind by the architect ship. Human ingenuity turned fear into curiosity, terror into data. For the first time in centuries, someone dared to dissect the enemy gods. Stealth corvettes deployed drones into the void, mimicking human signatures. Minutes later, an architect vessel appeared, scanning the decoys. Kale leaned forward. "They hunt patterns," he whispered. The drones self-destructed, releasing EMP bursts that briefly disrupted the alien hull. The architect ship shimmered, faltering for mere seconds, but it was enough. "Proof," Kale said. "They can bleed." The crew erupted in cautious triumph. For generations, no empire had dared test the architects. Humanity had not only defied them, but drawn blood. The alien counselors were horrified, terrified of reprisal. "You've doomed us all," one cried. Kyle only smiled, cold and resolute. "No, I've given you hope." Humanity had found the first weakness, however small, and that changed everything. Kale ordered experimental weapons prepped. Hybrid systems merging alien cores with human engineering. Plasma cannons hummed with unfamiliar energy, unstable but powerful. The fleet trained in simulated engagements, learning to fight without relying on vulnerable AI systems. "We adapt faster than they calculate," Kale told his officers. "That's our weapon." Humanity's chaos had become its greatest strength. Whispers spread across the Citadel. Species once defiant now looked at humanity with awe and fear. Alien leaders debated rebellion but saw only futility. Humanity was not just a conqueror. It was the only shield against something older, darker. Kyle knew it too. This wasn't about domination anymore. It was about survival, for all. And humanity was the only species reckless enough to defy extinction itself. Kale's fleet returned to the coordinates of their first encounter. Wreckage from destroyed probes floated aimlessly, a reminder of their vulnerability. Suddenly, sensors flared. Multiple architect vessels emerged, surrounding them in silence. Officers tensed, waiting for annihilation. Kyle raised his hand, calm but unyielding. "Hold formation. Watch. Learn." The architect ships pulsed, scanning, adapting, but Kale's fleet didn't flinch. The architect vessels unleashed a wave of energy, disabling human shields. But this time, humanity was ready. Manual controls bypassed interference, hybrid cannons roared, striking alien hulls. Sparks cascaded across the colossal vessels. Damage, real damage. The bridge erupted in shock. For the first time in recorded history, the architects staggered. Kale's voice was iron. "They are not gods." Fire again. Human cannons unleashed volleys across the void. Architect vessels rippled with impossible patterns, warping reality itself, but humanity's improvisation cut through. Kale barked orders, each maneuver reckless yet brilliant. Alien counselors watching from the Citadel trembled, unable to comprehend what they saw, mortals striking titans. Humanity had crossed the threshold of myth. One architect vessel faltered, fracturing under sustained fire before vanishing into nothingness. The fleet held position, stunned. Kale's voice broke the silence. "We've drawn blood. Now they know our name." Fear rippled through the galaxy, but hope followed. Humanity had not only survived the architect's gaze, it had wounded them. Kale's eyes hardened, a promise etched into his soul. The war has begun. Kale's fleet retreated toward fortified sectors. The architect vessels had vanished, but the void felt poisoned, heavy with unseen eyes. "They'll return," Kale muttered, Officers worked frantically, reinforcing shields, rerouting power. Humanity had bloodied gods, but that meant retribution was certain. The galaxy trembled at the thought. At the Citadel, alien leaders begged Kale to halt. "You've awakened them," one cried. Kale's reply was steel. "They awakened us first, centuries ago." Yet when reports arrived of entire colonies blinking out of contact, Kale's jaw tightened. The retaliation had begun, swift and merciless. The architects were no longer watching. They were hunting. Human distress signals flooded in. Outposts erased without debris, fleets vanishing mid-transmission. Kale watched the feeds, fury hardening his resolve. "They want fear," he said. "We'll give them fire." His fleet prepared counterstrikes, experimental cannons pulsing with unstable energy. Humanity had no choice but to gamble with survival. Alien counselors panicked, demanding retreat, demanding surrender. Kale silenced them. "We are the only reason you're alive to argue. Remember that." Outside, probes picked up architect signatures moving in coordinated arcs, pushing humanity into a corner. The enemy wasn't just retaliating, they were shaping the battlefield. Kale felt the trap closing, but he refused to bend. Kale's fleet jumped into a besieged sector. The stars lit with devastation, entire moons cracked apart, their cores bleeding molten rivers. Humanity's ships engaged instantly, plasma cannons roaring. Architect vessels shimmered into visibility, geometric titans shifting like living nightmares. "All batteries, fire!" Kale thundered. The void erupted in chaos. The architects answered with silence, unleashing gravitational pulses that tore frigates apart. Human screams filled comms, but formations held. Kale gripped the railing, fury in his voice. "Hold the line." Against impossible odds, human improvisation kept them fighting. Alien spectators across the galaxy watched in disbelief. No species had lasted this long. Humanity was fragile, but it was unyielding. Kale ordered desperate maneuvers. Destroyers sacrificed themselves, ramming architect vessels to disrupt their pulses. The bridge shook violently as shockwaves tore across shields. "They want us broken," Kale said, voice like iron. "But we endure." Hybrid weapons flared, burning deep scars into alien hulls. Humanity was fighting gods with mortal fury. Then came the counterstroke. An architect vessel unleashed a blinding surge and half the fleet's systems collapsed in silence. Screens flickered, engines sputtered, weapons dimmed. Kale's crew gasped, but his eyes blazed with defiance. "Shut it all down," he ordered. "Manual control only. They can't predict chaos." In that moment, humanity stood bloodied but still alive, facing annihilation with raw resolve. The battlefield descended into shadows, ships burning across the void. Kale's fleet was fractured, survivors clinging to manual systems, improvising maneuvers no machine could calculate. Architect vessels closed in, their silence more terrifying than any war cry. The crew's fear was palpable, but Kale's command steadied them. "If we fall striking." Then, the impossible. One architect vessel faltered, destabilized by overlapping manual strikes. Its shimmering form fractured, then imploded in a burst of energy. The galaxy bore witness. Humanity had slain a god outright. But the victory came at a price. Half the fleet lost, thousands dead, the survivors drifting in ruins. Kale stood unshaken. "We bleed, but we are not broken. Let them come. Humanity is ready." The battered fleet limped back to Citadel space. Hulls glowed with scorch marks and survivors staggered through ruined corridors. The galaxy had watched humanity slay an architect vessel, and silence followed. Silence heavy with awe and terror. Kyle addressed the council. "We've proved they can fall. Now decide, do you stand with us or die alone?" The alien leaders quarreled, terrified of further retaliation. Some demanded surrender, others whispered rebellion. But one thing was clear. Fear of the architects no longer ruled unchallenged. Whispers spread like wildfire. Humanity had turned myth into mortality. Kale knew this was only the beginning. "They'll strike harder," he said, "and when they do, we must strike back together." Kale met with secret envoys, species long oppressed by the architects. Shrouded in shadow, they admitted what none had dared before. "We have fragments. Pieces of technology were stolen from them." The artifacts pulsed with strange energy, older than recorded history. Kale's eyes narrowed. "Then give them to us. Humanity will turn its own weapons against itself." Scientists and engineers labored in hidden shipyards, reverse engineering impossible fragments. Weapons hummed with unstable resonance, threatening to tear themselves apart. But Kale only smiled grimly. Perfection is their weakness. Flaws are ours, and flaws adapt. Humanity embraced imperfection, bending the alien relics into something raw, unstable, but deadly. The galaxy watched humanity forge chaos into power. Kale's fleet conducted trials with hybrid armaments. Cannons fired bursts that warped space, destabilizing even their own hulls. Crews worked without sleep, adapting in real time, writing new protocols in the heat of testing. "We are building weapons no architect can predict," Kale declared. Humanity was rewriting war itself. But the artifacts carried secrets. Probes detected embedded code, strange pulses hidden within the fragments, messages, perhaps warnings. Some scientists begged Kale to stop. "These devices weren't meant for war," one argued. Kale's gaze hardened. "Everything is a weapon when survival demands it." He knew they were walking into unknown dangers, but retreat was no longer an option. As reports arrived, colonies once erased without a trace now flickered back into existence, caught in strange temporal echoes. Humanity's scouts entered the anomalies, discovering fractured timelines, half-destroyed stations frozen mid-collapse. "They're experimenting on reality itself," Kale muttered. The architects weren't just conquerors, they were reshaping existence. From these anomalies, humanity salvaged survivors, dazed but alive, speaking of being trapped in endless loops. Their words were fragmented warnings. The architects fear something. Kale's blood chilled. For centuries, the galaxy thought the architects were the apex. But if they feared, then something older, deeper, was stirring. Humanity's war was no longer simple defiance. It was entanglement in a cosmic mystery. Kale convened his officers. Charts glowed with data from anomalies, architect fragments, and new alliances forming under humanity's banner. "They're not infallible," Kale said. "They bleed, they falter, and they fear." The officers leaned in, silent, absorbing the revelation. Humanity was no longer prey. It was becoming the hunter. On the Citadel, alien leaders bowed for the first time, not in subjugation, but in reluctant respect. "Lead us," one whispered. Kyle accepted, not with triumph, but with grim resolve. Humanity had claimed its place as the galaxy's spearhead, but the shadow of something greater loomed beyond the architects. Kale clenched his fist. "Then let the galaxy prepare. The true war has not yet begun." Architect armadas emerged across dozens of sectors, their arrival precise, merciless. Worlds burned without warning. Fleets dissolved in impossible pulses. Humanity's new allies watched in terror as Kale's command streamed across the void. "All forces, fall back to Fortress Line Omega. This is extermination." The Citadel shook with panic. Alien leaders cried betrayal, claiming humanity had doomed them. Kale cut through their fear with steel. "We didn't bring this war. We exposed it. They would have erased you in silence. Now you have a choice. Fight with us or die cowering." His words carved resolve from fear. The galaxy rallied, if only because there was nowhere left to run. Fortress Line Omega lit the void. a barrier of human and alien fleets ringed with weapon platforms and minefields. Kale stood at the heart of it, every display flashing red with incoming signals. The architects came like a tide, their vessels bending light, reality itself twisting in their wake. "Hold," Kale ordered. "Make them bleed for every star." The first clash was catastrophic. Architect pulses shredded defenses, collapsing ships like paper. Yet hybrid cannons answered, tearing rents in alien hulls. Explosions lit the void like newborn suns. For the first time in galactic history, a united front stood against the architects, not to kneel, but to resist. Kale's voice thundered. "This is not humanity's last stand. It's the galaxy's first strike." Kale's fleet executed desperate maneuvers, destroyers slingshotting around stars, frigates detonating reactors in suicidal charges. The void became a graveyard of gods and mortals alike. Architect vessels flickered, faltering under the storm, yet still they pressed forward with silent inevitability. Humanity bled, but would not bow. In the chaos, Kale identified a pattern. Architect vessels synchronized around a central node, hidden deep within their fleet. "There," he growled. "Cut the heart, and the body collapses." He ordered a strike group, humanity's most daring gamble yet. To win, they had to strike at the architect's core, even if it meant sacrificing everything. The strike group pierced the architect formation, weaving through collapsing space-time. Shields melted, hulls screamed, but the fleet pressed on. Kale's flagship led the charge, hybrid cannons overloading as they drew closer to the hidden node. "All power, now!" he roared. The void erupted in white fire. The node shuddered, ripples tearing across architect ranks. Their formations faltered, ships collapsing into themselves. For the first time, the Titans broke formation, retreating. Across the galaxy, a stunned silence followed. Humanity had not only survived the onslaught, it had forced the architects back. Kale's voice cut through the silence. "Remember this day. The gods can bleed, and they can run." The battered survivors regrouped amid the wreckage of Fortress Line Omega. Half the fleets were gone, worlds lay in ruin, but the impossible had been achieved. The architects had retreated. Kale stood on the bridge, exhaustion etched into his face, yet his eyes burned with fire. "We've bought the galaxy time, nothing more." In hidden chambers, survivors from temporal anomalies whispered the truth. The architects fear the awakening. Kale listened in silence, the weight of revelation pressing down. Humanity had become the spearhead of survival, but something greater stirred beyond the stars, something even the architects dreaded. Kale clenched his fist. "Then we face it too. Humanity will not turn away." Kale's fleet navigated the ruins of architect wreckage, scavenging fragments. For the first time, their enemy's silence was broken, not by weapons but by transmissions. Distorted voices echoed across comms, fractured, alien, almost desperate. "Impossible," whispered an officer. "They're speaking." Kale narrowed his eyes. "No, they're warning." Analysis revealed fragmented architect code, patterns resembling fear responses. The titans of the galaxy who erased a species without thought were unraveling. "They're not gods," Kale muttered. "They're prisoners of something greater." The revelation struck harder than any weapon. Humanity had wounded them, but another enemy had always been looming behind their silence. The council convened, this time not in fear of humanity, but in fear of what lurked beyond. Alien leaders demanded answers. Kale stood firm. The architects were never our ultimate enemy. They were guards, holding back something they feared. Silence gripped the chamber as the weight of truth settled. One alien elder whispered, "If that is true, then your war has broken the cage." Kale didn't flinch. Humanity had lit the fire, and now the galaxy faced what lay in the ashes. Still, Kale's voice cut through the despair. "If the architects can bleed, so can what they fear, and humanity will be the blade. Kale led expeditions into deeper voids, regions sealed for millennia by architect barriers. Their fleets discovered collapsed stars, graveyards of entire civilizations, and faint energy signatures older than time. "This is where they fought," Kale whispered, "and where they lost." The silence carried more terror than any battle. Among the ruins, probes captured fragments of ancient entities, structures not built, but grown, alive in ways beyond comprehension. They pulsed faintly, as if dormant. "The awakening," Kale muttered. His crew stared in silence. The architects had feared resurrection, not rebellion. Humanity had cracked the prison, and something was beginning to stir, as fragments of architect fleets began splintering. Some vessels attacking each other, others fleeing into uncharted voids. Their unity was fracturing under the weight of fear. Kale seized the moment. They are vulnerable. While they break, we strike. Humanity's fleet, scarred but relentless, surged into the chaos. Hybrid cannons and unstable weapons shattered disoriented architect vessels. For the first time, the Titans fought not as predators but as prey, desperate and disorganized. Yet victory tasted hollow. Sensors picked up anomalies spreading, space itself bending as dormant entities stirred. Humanity was winning the wrong war, and Kale knew it. Kale stood before the combined council once more. Alien leaders were divided. Some demanded pursuit of the breaking architects, others pleaded for retreat into hiding. Kale silenced them with a single truth. The architects were never our cage. They were our shield, and we just shattered it. The chamber fell silent. For centuries, species had lived in terror of the architects. Now, fear shifted to something nameless, older, waiting in the dark. Kale's voice carried finality. "If the awakening comes, there will be no hiding. Humanity will face it. Will you?" Across the galaxy, allies trembled, but for the first time, they listened. Kale's fleet advanced into the blackened frontier. Stars dimmed, their light drained into voids where no physics remained. Ships trembled as sensors detected structures vast as galaxies, pulsing with slow, deliberate rhythm. The awakening had begun. Officers whispered in terror. Kale only said, "We face it head on." The architects appeared, fragmented, desperate, their fleets clashing with unseen forces in the dark. One broadcast reached humanity's comms, distorted, pleading. "We held it back. Now, you've freed it." For the first time in history, the architects begged. Kale's eyes hardened. "Then we finish what you could not." Humanity was no longer prey. Probes captured glimpses of the awakening, vast tendrils of living energy, consuming space like fire devours air. Entire systems collapsed, stars snuffed out in silence. Kale stared, unflinching. "We can't match scale, but scale doesn't win wars. Will does." Humanity's creed had never been truer. Scientists raced to weaponize anomalies, forging cannons that bent time itself, warheads that destabilized gravity, dangerous, suicidal tools. "If we fight gods," Kale said, "we use the weapons of gods." The crew worked in silence, their fear eclipsed by resolve. Humanity was arming itself not just to fight, but to defy inevitability. Humanity's fleet entered battle alongside fractured architect remnants. For the first time, mortals and titans fought side by side. The void erupted in impossible wars, reality folding, time shattering, fleets fighting in multiple echoes of themselves. Kale commanded through chaos, every order a gamble against extinction. Weapons struck the awakening, but it only adapted, feeding on destruction. Kale's jaw tightened. It doesn't want victory, it wants consumption. Humanity's strategy shifted. Not annihilation, but containment. Kale's voice thundered. "Buy time, find its core, and if none exists, create one." Humanity fought not to win, but to deny the end. Kale executed his final gambit. Humanity's fleet, armed with unstable weapons, plunged directly into the Awakening's tendrils. Reality fractured, ships torn into echoes, but the strike reached deep. Scientists triggered resonance bombs, forcing the entity to collapse into a single focal point. "Now!" Kale roared. The architects, beaten and broken, followed humanity's lead. Together, mortals and titans hurled everything into the collapsing point. Light consumed the void, brighter than creation itself. Silence followed. The Awakening had recoiled, wounded, not destroyed. Humanity had not won, but it had forced survival. Kale's voice was iron. "We endure. Always." One last time, as Kale stood among the survivors. The galaxy was scarred, fleets shattered, millions lost. Yet against gods, humanity had endured and changed everything. The architects, no longer rulers, approached with silence. One spoke through fractured signals. "We feared you once. Now, we follow." Kale's gaze swept the stars, the scars of war etched into every world. "Humanity is not conqueror nor savior," he declared. "We are proof that nothing is inevitable. Not extinction, not gods, not even fear." The galaxy listened, united by scars and defiance. Humanity had returned, not as prey, not as legend, but as the blade that cut fate itself. The war was not over, but humanity had earned its place. Forever. The end. Thank you for watching AstroMyths. If you enjoyed this story, smash that like button and subscribe for more epic sci-fi tales, cosmic mysteries, and mind-bending myths. And if you like this story, or have a myth, mystery, or galaxy you'd like us to explore, drop your ideas in the comments. We're always listening. Until next time, keep your eyes on the stars and your mind open to the unknown.